Now, before we get into this video, I want to let you guys know that I have a very special guest helping me with this video. A lot of you know her, and a lot of you love her. Make sure to go check her out after the video. Now let's begin. I've played with Ouija boards numerous times with different friend groups, and nothing interesting has ever happened. We'd either get no response, or it would just spell out random things. This past Thanksgiving, a friend came over, and after we finished eating dinner, we wanted to give this Ouija board another try. Just a quick note about us, for background context. My friend is an ex-Mormon who doesn't believe in the paranormal, and although I'm open to the idea of paranormal phenomena, I have yet to personally experience anything that would truly convince me. Before beginning, we set our intentions to speak to a positive spirit or spirits only, and we agreed not to do anything obnoxious or weird like make fun of the board / spirits or asking questions we shouldn't, like when will we die or how will we die, etc. To my surprise, the blanket began moving shortly after we asked the first question, and the connection seemed consistent from there. The atmosphere was relaxed and warm. Among an array of questions, we asked questions about the individual we were communicating with, and we also asked questions about ourselves that we knew the other person wouldn't know, and the board answered accurately. We were trying to think of some more questions when it started spelling out HELPME. Help me. I know this sounds so cliche, and if I ever write horror stories, I'm absolutely using this for the plot. It's something I couldn't even think of, even if I tried. The chill environment became a bit eerie following this, and we asked with slight apprehension, "How can we help you?" It responded with, "Quit." My friend looked genuinely nervous, and I felt on edge as well. We agreed to listen to the response, but after we asked the final question, we asked it if it could share why it wanted us to quit. The first letters were SH, and I assumed that it was going to tell us to shut up, but instead of going to the U, it ended up spelling out SHATAN. My friend looked confused, and I asked her if she knew what that word meant, and she said she didn't. She doesn't speak Arabic. I told her it means Satan in Arabic, and explained that it's a classification of a jinn in Islam. If the board meant Satan, as in the pitchfork dude, then we both already knew what that meant. Either way, it wasn't good, and we kept our promise and stopped after that last question. We made sure to thank the spirit for talking to us, and we said goodbye before closing the session. We know about the ideometer effect and or explanations for connecting with the subconscious, but I think it was particularly eerie that 1, it started responding as we tried to think of more questions. 2, we both thought that the board would spell shut up as it went to the S and H, but instead it spelled Shaitan. All in all, it was an interesting experience, but perhaps superstitiously, I almost feel like it was a warning to me to not keep messing around with Ouijas, provided that it truly was something supernatural and not the ideometer stuff. Would love to hear others' thoughts. Thank you for reading.
One day, while being dragged around against my will to a fun day, sarcasm, of yard sales, I stumbled across a Parker Brothers Ouija board. The price tag said $1, so I had to have it. That night, I invited my cousin over, who lived across the street, so we could play with it. We were very skeptical that it would work since it was a Parker Brothers board. So, we were laughing when we lit our candles and turned the lights off. We got into position and placed our hands on the pointer. We sat there giggling and not taking it very seriously. After about 15 minutes of making fun of the entire thing, we made an oath not to move the pointer and see if we could actually get this thing to do something. We sat silently for about 20 minutes, and suddenly, the pointer moved about an inch. I asked my cousin if she moved it, and she swore she didn't. She then asked me if I did, but I didn't move it either. After a couple of rounds of blaming each other for moving it, the pointer moved again. This time, it was just going back and forth, over and over, spelling out H-I, H-I, H-I. I said, "Who is there?" The pointer spelled out J-O-E-Y. My cousin's mouth about hit the floor. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I said, "Your name is Joey?" The pointer moved to yes on the board. I then asked if he wanted to talk to us. The pointer again moved to yes. I then asked, "What would you like to talk about?" The pointer moved again and spelled Y-O-U. I asked why did it want to talk about me. Joey went on to say that he always talks about him to people and wanted to show us a magic trick. I said I would like to see his magic trick, and as soon as I said that, the bed sheets off my bed got pulled down onto the floor. I asked Joey if he pulled the sheets off the bed, and he said yes. I said to him, "That's a cool trick. What else can you do?" He went on to say he wouldn't do any more tricks until I answered a question. I said I would answer any questions he wanted if he promised to do another magic trick. Joey then asked me if I liked to ride bikes. I told him yes. As I was going to ask him to do another trick, the pointer started moving again, and he asked me if I liked to play video games. I said yes, and then asked him to do another trick. We sat there for a few minutes, and nothing happened. I asked again if he would do a magic trick. Just then the candle blew out. I asked Joey if that was his magic trick. The pointer moved to no. I asked if he was going to do a trick, and again it moved to no. I asked if we were still talking to Joey, and it said no. I asked where Joey was, and it spelled G-O-N-E. I asked, "Who am I talking to?" The pointer moved to no. The board flew into the air, like someone just flipped it off the table. My cousin and I ran out of the room screaming. If you enjoyed this experience, you can hear my other experiences and other paranormal experiences on my podcast, Brave the Basement.
For as long as I can remember, I've had an interest in the spiritual world and thought it would be cool to communicate with the dead. So back in 2014, my mom was browsing around the local FB buying selling groups, and she came across someone selling a Ouija board that was used. It caught her attention because it was a glow-in-the-dark limited edition, and she decided to buy it for me. She'd remembered playing with one as a child, and thought I'd enjoy it too, since we'd talk about it in the past. My mom then contacted the seller, who would stop by and drop off the board. It was one of those stormy, gloomy, almost spooky days when the guy came to the house to bring us the board. As soon as I saw it, I got this bad vibe once the guy left. I told my mom, I don't feel safe using that. I want to do some research first. My mom was surprised at my reaction because before this point, I'd been interested in playing with it. I ended up surfing the web, watching YouTube videos, and hearing many stories, most which were bad, which made me feel very uncomfortable and even trying to mess with this Ouija board. My mom ended up packing it away in a box on our porch where it stayed many years. This brings us to spring of 2022. By now, I'd gotten really interested in the paranormal and had learned a lot about these Ouija boards and how dangerous they could be. So I reached out to my mom and asked, "Hey, you remember that Ouija board you put on the porch years ago?" I think you need to get rid of it, because I heard that just having one in the house can bring bad luck and negative energy. It's weird, because since moving to this house in 2014, we hadn't had a lot of good experiences. She replied, "Oh, I got rid of it like the last time I was reorganizing the porch." So let's fast forward to the summer. I am back at my mom's house. I go to school in a different part of the country, but return to her house in the summer. Once back there, I started hearing strange stuff in my bedroom, like whispering. I thought perhaps it was just the air conditioner, but it honestly sounded like voices, and I never heard anything of the sort until that summer. I also had this weird sense of this Ouija board still being in the house. I decided to go try to find it on the porch. That's when I see the Ouija box, tucked away in a clear storage bin. I grabbed it and brought it to my mom. As we looked in the box, we noticed that it was different. The board and the box looked like they were brand new. When we opened it, the blanket was still in its own separate wrap. This was not how we remembered the board. When my mom got it from the guy, it had been used. The box had some wear and tear, and the blanket wasn't wrapped in anything. At this point, we're both just weirded out and just wanted that thing out of the house. I'd heard Ouija boards could come back and change if you don't properly dispose of them. For the time being, we put it in our backyard because we weren't sure how to get rid of it. We wanted it out of the house, but leaving it on our property wasn't a smart move on our part. Bad things started happening. The first thing was when my father got into a minor car accident. This was the only time in his life that he'd actually been in one, in all 45 years of his driving. Next, our basement flooded. Town sewage backed up into our basement. Nasty, I know. Before this, we had a dry basement, which had only gotten wet once due to someone leaving the window open during a very bad storm. The third thing was that when we had a handyman come over, he almost fell through our basement stairs. He wasn't hurt, but it really scared Mom. She ended up getting the stairs replaced, even though it was very expensive. Then another thing happened to my dad, which proved to be the scariest of all. There was a big fire in his apartment building. Multiple units were destroyed, including the one right above him. Thankfully, no one was injured. His unit did suffer some water damage, so he was forced to move out. It would take at least 6 months for renovations to his apartment, so he couldn't move back in right away. One final thing happened. While the Ouija board was still in the backyard, my mom and I noticed that we didn't have any hot water, so we went to the basement and discovered that the water heater wasn't working. We tried to reset it, but couldn't get it back on. A repairman came to check it out and told us that our unit had overheated. Fortunately, there was a safety setting to shut it off before it got dangerously hot. He then explained that the water heater's thermostat was faulty, or it should have never gotten that hot. If the safety switch hadn't shut it off, it could have blown up, and we were very lucky. One thing that I noticed is that even though all of these were close calls, no one was harmed. It was almost as if someone or something was watching out for us. After that last thing happened with our water heater, my mom and I agreed that we needed to get the Ouija board off of our property. It seemed to be bringing us bad luck, and we were worried that things were going to get even worse. Even my dad was having bad luck, although my parents were divorced and he'd never lived in that house with us. My mom decided to get rid of the board. She planned to bring it to the town dump. She had separated the board from the blanket so she could toss them in 2 different garbage bins at the dump. As my mom was driving from the dump, she noticed something odd. At a neighbor's house down the street, there was a hearse parked in the driveway. A vintage hearse from the 1970s. She texted me about it, and I said, "That's weird, but people do buy old hearses sometimes." My mom then disposed of the Ouija board at the dump and headed home. On her way back, she drove past the neighbor's house and saw that the hearse was gone. There was only a dumpster that had been sitting in the driveway. My mom had never seen the hearse in the neighbor's driveway before that day and hasn't seen one since. The neighbor's driveway was too short for both the hearse and the dumpster to be parked at. Later that week, my mom and I were in Barnes & Noble and decided to have a coffee at the Starbucks there. Guess what we saw? When we dropped off our serving tray, tucked away near the milk and sugar, was a Ouija board. I know they sell them in Barnes & Noble, and I guess somebody could have just left it there. But it still totally freaked us out. So, a couple of years ago, I want to say like 2 or 3, me and my friend were bored. This was around the time that Ouija boards were kind of a trend in going around on YouTube, and that kind of stuff has always and still does fascinate me. So we both decided to make a Ouija board out of a rectangle of cardboard that we had cut off of a box. I also believe that we made like a ghetto-looking plankette out of cardboard with a hole cut out in the middle and everything. So anyways, we brought the thing into the basement of my house, already a huge mistake as I learned after, and we started trying to mess around with this thing. I don't even remember what we asked it, or anything that really happened in detail, but I do remember being in such shock because I felt such a strong connection. Almost like a magnetic pull, pulling it down and moving it from underneath. Another thing that we both admitted was to feeling after we played for a little bit was a cold chill only on our arm that we were playing with. It wasn't really breezy, but it just felt like, well, bone chilling. Anyways, the point of this story comes into play now. That night I was in the bedroom, and I got up to go to the washroom, which is straight across the hallway from my room, just to brush my teeth and get ready for bed, and I left my phone on my bed before leaving. So after I was done getting ready and all, I opened the bathroom door and immediately noticed that all of my lights in my bedroom were turned off. This threw up a major red flag in my mind right away, and while I was scared, I just thought it was nothing, and still went back to my room and flipped the lights on. I went to grab my phone to distract me from the adrenaline and tried to calm myself down before going to bed, and I didn't see it on my bed or anything. I didn't see it anywhere for that matter. I got creeped the fuck out and immediately flipped the lights off and jumped back into bed and hid under my covers and tried to go to sleep, even though the thought that that Ouija board that we used in the basement earlier was in the closet 5 feet away from me. I swear I heard a faint knock on the inside of my closet, and I heard it multiple times that night. But maybe it was just my mind messing with me. The next morning, I wasn't as scared or freaked out as I was the night before, and I got up to take a shower. Once I got out of the shower, I stepped out of the bathroom, and my phone was just right there, on the floor, right in front of me. To this day, it still troubles me, and I have no idea what happened that night. I haven't touched the cardboard Ouija board, but I did purchase a legit Ouija board like 3 months later, and have not really had any outstanding experiences with it, like I had with the cardboard one. Let me know about your thoughts on this entire situation, or any of your own experiences with Ouija boards you've had. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, could you please go do me a favor? Could you please go check out Lady Spookaria's channel and let her know of how good of a job that she did on that story? Trust me, she's fantastic, and if you liked her story in this, then you'll definitely like a lot of her content. It's all original content on her channel. She creates her own stories, and she also narrates them, and has a lot of really cool people join her. Like me, hopefully soon. But I want to give a huge shout out and a massive thank you to Lady Spookaria for this. We've been trying to figure out something to do together for like months, and we finally came to the conclusion of Ouija boards. So it was very nice seeing this happen. I'll make sure to post her links in the description, like her Instagram and her YouTube channel. Make sure to go check her out. Pretty please. Make sure to check out my links in the description as well, like my Twitter, my Instagram, everything like that is in there, including my Gmail if you would like to submit a story. I would love to tell a subscriber story. Trust me, I've been begging, like, so long now. But make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to this channel and you enjoyed what you heard, make sure to subscribe. We're doing nothing but growing. We just hit 800 in 8 months. I'm still kind of blown away at that, but the road to 1,000 is still on its way, and I'm looking so forward to it. Also, make sure to check out the channel member subscriptions if you would like to join for exclusive bonus content, like extra stories, bloopers, extra stuff like that, including soon, hopefully, merchandise. That would be nice. But other than that, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one. Lady Spookaria, hurry up and send me lines so I can be in one of your stories. Okay, bye.